Hey everyone, it's Alex, and I am here with my video for the nominations for the 24th Screen Actors Guild Awards. Now, I am quite late with this video, I'll admit, because the nominations for these came out almost a month ago, but I've just been super busy with work and life and making my other videos that I'm never able to make these videos on time like I want to. But better late than never. Now, the Screen Actors Guild Awards are an award show given out by the Screen Actors Guild, and it's actors voting for other actors. Because all the awards for this show are about acting, there's no writing or directing or editing or any other craft awards, it's just for acting. And they have a unique way of doing some of their categories. For instance, their categories are referred to as male actor and female actor, and on the television side, they do away with lead versus supporting and just combine them all into actor and actress in a comedy series, drama series, etc. However, on the film side, they do distinguish between lead and supporting since they don't have as many categories there. And both categories also have their own stunt honors, although the stunt honors are the two awards that are never broadcast on the actual show, but rather announced on the red carpet. But today I'm here to go over the nominations and to talk about what I like, what I don't like, and what I think got snubbed. Now, the 24th Screen Actors Guild Awards will be held on Sunday, January 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on both TNT and TBS, and it will be hosted by Kristen Bell. And Kristen Bell actually is the very first person to ever host the Screen Actors Guild Awards, because usually they've just gone on without a host. But this time they're going to try one out, and hopefully she does a good job. But anyways, let's dive right into the nominations, starting with the television categories. Best Male Actor in a Comedy Series: Anthony Anderson, Blackish; Aziz Ansari, Master of None; Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm; Sean Hayes, Will and Grace; William H. Macy, Shameless; Marc Maron, Glow. Best Female Actor in a Comedy Series: Uzo Aduba, Orange is the New Black; Alison Brie, Glow; Jane Fonda, Grace and Frankie; Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Veep; Lily Tomlin, Grace and Frankie. Best Male Actor in a Drama Series: Jason Bateman, Ozark; Sterling K. Brown, This Is Us; Peter Dinklage, Game of Thrones; David Harbour, Stranger Things; Bob Odenkirk, Better Call Saul. Best Female Actor in a Drama Series: Millie Bobby Brown, Stranger Things; Claire Foy, The Crown; Laura Linney, Ozark; Elizabeth Moss, The Handmaid's Tale; Robin Wright, House of Cards. Best Male Actor in a Television Movie or Limited Series: Benedict Cumberbatch, Sherlock the Lying Detective; Jeff Daniels, Godless; Robert De Niro, The Wizard of Lies; Jeffrey Rush, Genius; Alexander Skarsgård, Big Little Lies. Best Female Actor in a Television Movie or Limited Series: Laura Dern, Big Little Lies; Nicole Kidman, Big Little Lies; Jessica Lange, Feud, Betty and Joan; Susan Sarandon, Feud, Betty and Joan; Reese Witherspoon, Big Little Lies. Best Stunt Ensemble in a Television Series: Game of Thrones, Glow, Homeland, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead. Best Ensemble in a Comedy Series: Blackish, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Glow, Orange is the New Black, Veep. Best Ensemble in a Drama Series: The Crown, Game of Thrones, The Handmaid's Tale, Stranger Things, This Is Us. And now onto the film nominations. Best Male Actor in a Supporting Role: Steve Carell, Battle of the Sexes; Willem Dafoe, The Florida Project; Woody Harrelson, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri; Richard Jenkins, The Shape of Water; Sam Rockwell, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Best Female Actor in a Supporting Role: Mary J. Blige, Mudbound. Hong Chow, Downsizing. Holly Hunter, The Big Sick. Allison Janney, I, Tonya. Laurie Metcalf, Lady Bird. Best Male Actor in a Leading Role: Timothée Chalamet, Call Me By Your Name. James Franco, The Disaster Artist. Daniel Kaluuya, Get Out. Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. Denzel Washington, Roman J. Israel Esquire. Best Female Actor in a Leading Role: Judi Dench, Victoria and Abdul. Sally Hawkins, The Shape of Water. Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Margot Robbie, I, Tonya. Saoirse Ronan, Lady Bird. Best Stunt Ensemble of a Motion Picture: Baby Driver. Dunkirk. Logan. War for the Planet of the Apes. Wonder Woman. And finally, Best Cast of a Motion Picture: The Big Sick. Get Out. Lady Bird. Mudbound. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And those are the nominations for the Screen Actors Guild Award. Now it's time to see what I think of them. For Best Male Actor in a Comedy Series, this category is a little bit different because there are actually 6 nominees instead of 5. And when they were making the announcement, they explained that there was a tie in the voting. Who the tie was between, we don't know because they never go that specific. That's why we have more nominees here than in the other categories. Looks like a pretty solid lineup for the most part. Anthony Anderson, I'm glad to see him in here. For Blackish, I need to watch more of Master of None. Curb Your Enthusiasm, I've never really watched that show, but I've heard great things about its new season. Sean Hayes for Will and Grace, he's won this category many times in the past during Will and Grace's original run. And I've heard good things about the revival, but I haven't really watched it. But surprisingly, he's the only one on here, because I think many people were predicting for basically all of the cast to be nominated, both individually and as an ensemble. But Sean Hayes is the only one here, similar to how Eric McCormick was the only individual cast member nominated at the Golden Globes. And of course, there, Will and Grace continued its track record of never winning a Golden Globe, now 0 for 29 in terms of its nominations there. William H. Macy back for Shameless, he won this category last year. And then Marc Maron for Glow. This seems to be the big surprise, but probably a big reason why Marc Maron is here is because Jeffrey Tambor, who's been nominated here several times in the past for Transparent, has recently had to leave that show due to allegations of sexual harassment. So if it weren't for that, he'd probably have been nominated here again. For Best Female Actor in a Comedy Series, very similar lineup to last year with Uzo Aduba, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin. Alison Brie being the newbie here because Glow debuted its first season over the summer. Although I'm a little bit sad that Tracee Ellis Ross isn't nominated here for Blackish, because she's just as good as Anthony Anderson, because the two of them together are what makes that show great. For Best Male Actor in a Drama Series, I haven't seen Ozark, but I've heard good things about Jason Bateman on it, even though I've heard the show itself is just, like, okay. Very glad to see Sterling K. Brown on here for This Is Us. Love him in that show. Of course, Peter Dinklage and Bob Odenkirk would be in here because they've been nominated several times before. And David Harbour in here for Stranger Things. I haven't seen Stranger Things' newest season yet because I've been catching up on all the Oscar movies. I've heard he's really good. He was really good in the first one, and David Harbour, of course, made headlines last year when Stranger Things won the Outstanding Ensemble for a Drama Series, and he gave a very rousing political speech. And of course, this was only about a week or so after Donald Trump was officially inaugurated as president, and of course, very few people in Hollywood like Donald Trump, and David Harbour gave like a rallying call to action speech, which certainly made him stand out. But I'm not saying his speech is the sole reason why he's nominated here. He was nominated at the Emmys last fall, and chances are many SAG members probably, if they hadn't noticed his work before, probably took that opportunity to check out his work here. For Best Female Actor in a Drama Series, looks like a very solid lineup. Millie Bobby Brown was very good in the first season of Stranger Things. I'm sure she's just as good in the second, even though I can't say yet since I haven't watched it. I loved Claire Foy in the first season of The Crown. I have to see the second season, but I loved her so much in the first season that I'm sure she's just as good here. Laura Linney in Ozark, can't comment on that. Elizabeth Moss for The Handmaid's Tale, very excellent to see here, and I think she'll win, and if she does, it's well deserved, because she's absolutely fantastic on the show, especially since a good chunk of her scenes involve her saying no dialogue at all, and you're only hearing the thoughts in her head via voiceover. But she still has to create expressions on her face to convey those thoughts. And Robin Wright in House of Cards, haven't really watched it, but, you know, of course, Robin Wright is now going to be the focus of that show, given the fact that Kevin Spacey was fired after allegations of sexual abuse were levied against him. And, of course, as a result, House of Cards is only going to have one more season and only a very limited number of episodes, but I'm sure Robin Wright will probably do a very excellent job. And of course, because of his sexual abuse allegations, that's why Kevin Spacey is not on here. For Best Male Actor in a Television Movie or Limited Series, I haven't seen Benedict Cumberbatch in any of the Sherlock episodes. They do like 3 or 4 episodes a season, which are basically 90-minute TV movies each, which is partly why they're nominated here and not in like the drama series category. Godless, I've heard about that. It's like a Western mini-series on Netflix. Haven't watched it yet, but I hopefully will someday. I've heard Jeff Daniels is good in it, and Jeff Daniels is a very solid actor. I enjoy him in pretty much anything he's in. Robert De Niro in The Wizard of Lies, fantastic. Big comeback for him after doing so much crap over the years, especially Dirty Grandpa. Don't get me started on that. Jeffrey Rush for Genius. This is a bit of a tricky situation because Jeffrey Rush is another celebrity who's had allegations of sexual harassment made against him, but I'm guessing in this case that the allegations against him didn't start coming out till like early December, and that was pretty much when the voting closed for this, so it's probably just due to the bad timing that is probably why he still got nominated here. Because if these allegations had come out before the voting had started for the nominations, he probably would not have been nominated. And he was also nominated earlier at the Golden Globes, and he didn't even show up, and that probably was the right thing for him to do, and I suspect he probably won't show up for this either. And then Alexander Skarsgård for Big Little Lies, fantastic. Even though his character is an absolutely despicable and horrible human being, his performance is magnificent, and it's the best thing I've ever seen Alexander Skarsgård in. For Best Female Actor in a Television Movie or Limited Series, all 5 of these ladies, excellent, well-deserved of their nominations. Laura Dern, Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, all fantastic in Big Little Lies, and they all play very different characters. Laura Dern's this overprotective helicopter mom. Nicole Kidman is a stay-at-home mom who's trapped in an abusive marriage. Reese Witherspoon's a mom who likes to look for all the gossip she can gather. And of course, Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon played Joan Crawford and Bette Davis, respectively, in Feud, Betty and Joan, and they were both fantastic. I personally wish Shailene Woodley could also have been in here for Big Little Lies, but who knows, maybe she ended up in 6th place and just barely missed out on a nomination. I hope that's the case because she was just as fantastic as her other co-stars. For Best Stunt Ensemble in a Television Series, pretty much the same things we have before. Game of Thrones, of course, The Walking Dead, of course, Stranger Things, alright, Homeland, of course, and then Glow. But I guess it's not surprising to see Glow in here because that's a show about female wrestlers. So therefore, a lot of stunt work is involved in something like that. For Best Ensemble in a Comedy Series, a lot of familiar faces. Blackish, Orange is the New Black, Veep. They've all been here before. Curb Your Enthusiasm. I'm guessing that's in here just because it's back after a long time. And then Glow, you know, with all the critical acclaim it's received. Modern Family is not on here for the first time ever, because ever since it premiered, Modern Family has been nominated every year, and it won like 4 times in a row. But now that it's in its 9th season, I guess voters are growing tired of it. Same thing with The Big Bang Theory. That was almost always nominated, but now it's in its like 11th season, and I'm guessing voters are tired of that too. And then Transparent is not in here, and that was nominated a few years ago. Not nominated last year, surprisingly, but I'm guessing part of the reason why it's not nominated here is because, again, of the sexual harassment allegations against Jeffrey Tambor and him leaving the show. For Best Ensemble in a Drama Series, looks like a pretty solid lineup. Game of Thrones and Stranger Things, of course, they'd be in here. Game of Thrones is always in here, but it's surprisingly never won. And Stranger Things, of course, won last year, and that led to David Harbour's rousing speech. The Crown, it was in here last year, and that's back again. The Handmaid's Tale, no surprise to see that in here, given that it won at both the Emmys and the Golden Globes, and it may very well win this award too, and if so, well deserved. And I'm sure one of the big reasons why it will win here is because it deals with the abuse and harassment of women, and they're delegated into second-class citizens, and it feels very reminiscent now of the Me Too movement, although in The Handmaid's Tale, some of the things that these women are subjected to are pretty extreme. But many people have compared the stuff that's going on in The Handmaid's Tale to some of the stuff we have going on in society right now, especially as many women fear what their lives may be like with someone like Donald Trump as president. And This Is Us, not surprised to see that in here. It missed out last year, unfortunately, but sometimes the Screen Actors Guild Awards do that. They often might not nominate a freshman show, but then nominate it again the next year. They did give a nomination for Sterling K. Brown, but no other nominations for it. But this year they put the ensemble in because the show is still strong, still bringing in a lot of ratings, and it is very much an ensemble show. And also, speaking of the ensemble, I forgot to mention, I'm surprised none of the other actors from This Is Us got their own individual nominations like Milo Ventimiglia or Mandy Moore or Chrissy Metz, but I guess maybe that was just due to lack, because these awards are kind of like the Emmys, in which they like to nominate the same people over and over again with like 1 or 2 newbies in the categories each year. So who knows, maybe some of them will get nominated next year. Now on to the film side. For Best Male Actor in a Supporting Role, I'm kind of surprised to see Steve Carell in here. Not that he's not bad, he's excellent in Battle of the Sexes, but the role never came across to me as a supporting role. I mean, I guess I could kind of understand because, well, Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs each have their own fair amount of screen time, to the point where it leads up to the big match between the two of them. And I guess you could say a good chunk of the movie is more about Billie Jean King than Bobby Riggs. Steve Carell didn't really feel like a supporting role to me. He felt basically like the male lead, but he's kind of the outlier here, and I don't think he's going to win. Willem Dafoe in here for The Florida Project, very well deserved. Best performance in that movie, certainly very different from what he normally does, because normally he does roles that involve a lot of scenery chewing, but good scenery chewing, and he often usually is playing the villain, so his role is very flashy. But here he plays a more subtle, restrained kind of role as a manager of a motel who has to deal with these kids running around and causing havoc. Although he's not one of those people that's like, "You kids are making my lives miserable!" He's not one of those grouchy miser type of people. He gets annoyed by the kids, sure, when they're causing trouble for the guests, but he does look out for them, and at one point actually has to save their lives from a pedophile. And that scene is easily the most powerful scene in the movie. Woody Harrelson, very excellent in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Kind of a surprise to see him in here, though, because most of the awards' attention in the supporting actor race has gone to his co-star Sam Rockwell. But, you know, but Woody Harrelson is fantastic in his role, and he's quite perfectly cast too, in my opinion. Richard Jenkins, excellent to see him in here for The Shape of Water. His performance is a very moving part of the film. And Sam Rockwell, of course, he's in here, and he's excellent in Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri too. And let's just say his character is not a very good person, but Sam Rockwell does an excellent job of making you hate this guy with your guts. Surprisingly, Armie Hammer is not in here for Call Me By Your Name, which I have not seen yet because it has not yet come to my area, but a lot of people were expecting him to be nominated. And Christopher Plummer, some people might have predicted he could sneak in here for All the Money in the World, but I'm guessing the voters didn't have enough time to see the movie because Ridley Scott finished filming Christopher Plummer's scenes right after Thanksgiving, because of course Christopher Plummer was a last-minute replacement for Kevin Spacey after Ridley Scott decided to edit out all of Kevin Spacey's scenes, and they managed to screen it for the Golden Globes, but I don't know if they didn't screen it for the SAG voters or just not enough of them watched it. But Christopher Plummer did get nominated at the BAFTAs, which I'll make a video about eventually, which could give him a good shot at getting another Oscar nomination. And if he did get that, that would be very well deserved because he's excellent. And it's almost like he did the role all along. Like it feels very seamless in terms of how the film's edited. Ray Romano is not in here for The Big Sick, and well, he hasn't been getting any nominations anywhere, but I think he's just as deserving as his co-star Holly Hunter, who is nominated in the next category. As for the ladies in female actor in a supporting role, the only one I have not yet seen is Allison Janney in I, Tonya. I hear she's excellent. She managed to win the Golden Globe on Sunday night, beating out the supposed frontrunner Laurie Metcalf, although given that the Golden Globes are not always the best indicator of who will win at future awards, we could still see Laurie Metcalf win this and possibly the Oscar too. But all the other ladies are fantastic. Mary J. Blige, she's really good in Mudbound. I wouldn't say she's the one who should win this category, but her performance was very good, and I never felt like, oh, here's Mary J. Blige trying to be an actress. I felt like she actually did a fantastic job. I didn't see her as Mary J. Blige, the singer, trying to act. I saw her as, in this one case, a legitimate actress. I don't know if she's always going to take on acting roles, but for this film, she did a good job of shedding her music persona to embody her character. Hong Chow is very good in Downsizing. Her character is one of the best characters in the movie as someone who tries to help the poor and downtrodden in the downsizing community she lives in. Holly Hunter is excellent in The Big Sick, and I love the bond she and Kumail Nanjiani form in that movie because she plays his girlfriend's mother, and they form a nice bond after the girlfriend gets sick and is put in a medically induced coma. Laurie Metcalf, she's fantastic in Lady Bird, and the chemistry she has with Saoirse Ronan in their contentious mother-daughter relationship feels very realistic and very believable, and it makes you wonder what their relationship will ultimately be like by the time the movie ends. For Best Male Actor in a Leading Role, the only one I have not yet seen is Timothée Chalamet in Call Me By Your Name. James Franco, hilarious as hell in the Disaster Artist. I practically fell out of my seat laughing watching him play Tommy Wiseau. Daniel Kaluuya, fantastic in Get Out. That was definitely a big surprise because I was always interested in that movie, but I wasn't sure how well it would do because Jordan Peele had never directed a film before, and when I learned he was going to be blending horror with comedy, I'm like, can those two things work well together? And they really do for the most part. Now I would say this film is like maybe 85% horror and 15% comedy, but the combination that you do have of both works really well. Gary Oldman, fantastic in Darkest Hour. I mean, I did not see Gary Oldman at all. It really felt like the real Winston Churchill had somehow come back from the dead to play himself. I haven't seen a performance this transformative of a real-life person since Daniel Day-Lewis played Abraham Lincoln in Lincoln. Yeah. And then Denzel Washington and Roman J. Israel Esquire. He's really fantastic, and I do think Roman J. Israel Esquire is an underrated movie, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best movies of the year, though. And while Denzel Washington is very good, I wouldn't say he's, like, awards worthy. You know, this is a good role, but it's not necessarily going to be ranked among his top 10 greatest performances ever. Maybe in, like, top 20, but not, like, top 10. You know, surprisingly, Daniel Day-Lewis is not on here for Phantom Thread, and that's going to be his very last film since he announced he's retiring. I haven't seen Phantom Thread yet because, again, that's another film that still hasn't come to my area, but I'll be seeing it real soon. And then Tom Hanks is shockingly not in here for The Post, and The Post is not in here at all anywhere, which is very surprising considering that most people consider it to be a strong frontrunner here, especially given the fact that it's about the news media, and even though it's set in the 1970s during the administration of Richard Nixon, a lot of people are drawing parallels between the events in that movie and what's going on right now in the presidency of Donald Trump, with Trump always waging war against the media and dubbing every media that criticizes him as fake news. But this might be just due to the fact that maybe not enough SAG voters, particularly those on the nominating committee, saw the film in time, because there's over like 160,000 members of SAG, but there's only like a 2,000 voter nominating committee, because, you know, SAG members are spread out all over the world. But I suspect the Oscars, though, will probably rectify this and give The Post several nominations, maybe even one for Tom Hanks. Same with Meryl Streep for female actor in a leading role. Many people predicted at least she would be nominated here, but she isn't. But given that Meryl Streep holds the record of most Oscar nominations ever for acting, 20 at this point, I wouldn't be surprised at all if she gets nomination number 21 for The Post. But as for female actor in a leading role, these are all very solid nominations, and I have seen all 5 of these ladies. Judi Dench is quite excellent in Victoria and Abdul. She definitely has some scenes that would be like the awards bait scene, where it would be the clip that they would play at the award show, particularly when she goes into this tirade against her son, who's been trying to declare her insane. That's definitely an awards moment right there. I don't think she's probably not going to win, though, and I don't know if she'll get into the Oscar race, because I imagine the rest of the 4 ladies will probably be nominated at the Oscars along with Meryl Streep. But Judi Dench, I've never seen her give a bad performance. Sally Hawkins, amazing in The Shape of Water. She speaks virtually no dialogue, given that her character is a mute woman who communicates primarily through sign language, but you feel every emotion that she feels and you understand all of her motivations. Frances McDormand, out of this world in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. My God, this was a firehouse of a performance. Like, this is one of those rare performances that only comes around once in a lifetime, because what she brings to this performance and the various range of emotions she expresses in it, this is like masterclass level acting. Like, this is like the complete opposite of her famous Oscar-winning role from Fargo back in 1996. And there's a strong chance she may win her second Oscar for this, and if so, it's well-deserved. Well, actually, correction, I have not yet seen all of these performances. Margot Robbie is the one performance I have not yet seen, because, like I said before, I, Tonya has not come to my area. It comes here this Friday. But I've heard nothing but fantastic things about her in that movie. Saoirse Ronan, fantastic in Lady Bird. Definitely one of the best complex female characters I've seen in a long time, and very realistic in my opinion. You know, she doesn't come across as like a stereotypical character you see in a teen movie. I've met people in my life from time to time who are very similar to her character in Lady Bird. Maybe not in the exact way, but the attitude she has and the things she does and believes in. I have met people similar to her, and as a result, it felt very grounded and realistic to me. For Best Stunt Ensemble of a Motion Picture, Baby Driver and Dunkirk, absolutely deserving of these nominations, and I'm sure Logan, War for the Planet of the Apes, and Wonder Woman are deserving as well, even though I have not yet seen them. It's a shame Star Wars The Last Jedi couldn't be nominated here, but then again, I'm guessing nobody saw the movie before the nominations, because with something as big as Star Wars, they usually hold off on critic screenings until the very last minute. And these nominations came out literally right as Star Wars was being screened for critics and they were writing their reviews. And I'm guessing the actors weren't given special screeners unless maybe they attended the premiere and saw it there. And then finally, for Best Cast of a Motion Picture, these nominees are all very well deserving in their own way. Big Sick, fantastic cast. Get Out, really fantastic cast. Lady Bird, another fantastic cast. Mudbound, another fantastic cast. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, another fantastic cast. Because with the category like this, the Screen Actors Guild Awards always go for like the ensemble cast, where like everyone kind of has a big role in some way. You know, films where there's maybe just 1 or 2 leads and there's some very small supporting characters that have limited screen time don't usually get nominated here, like La La Land, because a lot of people were expecting La La Land to get in here last year because of its acclaim, but it didn't, mainly because, you know, even though there are small roles by people like J.K. Simmons, John Legend, and Rosemarie DeWitt, it basically was just Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone's movie. Whereas all these movies, everyone plays their fair share in the movie. There's a couple that I'm surprised were not in here. I'm surprised Dunkirk wasn't in here, given that Christopher Nolan wanted to make the film about the event itself and not just one specific characters. Now maybe the fact that there's not a lot of character development could be a big reason why it's not in here. But given that all these soldiers work together and you see the civilians coming to help the soldiers and how they all interact when all the moments come together, that really worked well for me, and I think that's why it should have been nominated here. The Shape of Water, I'm shocked, is not nominated here, because that film had a big cast and they all had to interact in some way. Sally Hawkins, Octavia Spencer, Doug Jones, Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, Michael Stuhlbarg, they all had their moment to shine and they were all brilliant. And speaking of Octavia Spencer, I forgot to mention her. She should have been nominated for Female Actor in a Supporting Role, because she was fantastic in The Shape of Water. And given that she was nominated at the Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and now the BAFTAs, which just came out today, January 10th as I'm recording this, it's a shame she wasn't nominated here when she was already nominated at those others. Even though I haven't seen the post yet, I'm shocked that's not on here, just given the huge nature of that cast. Because you got Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, Bob Odenkirk, Bradley Whitford, Sarah Paulson, Bruce Greenwood, I'm sure Matthew Rhys, and I know there's a couple other actors. I can't think of them at the top of my head at the moment, but that's like an amazing cast right there. And then Call Me By Your Name, I'm sure some people would have liked to have seen that in here, but maybe it's not in here because I'm guessing most of the scenes are just between Timothée Chalamet and Armie Hammer, so maybe that's why that's not in here. But overall, this is a pretty solid list of nominations. The Screen Actors Guild Awards don't usually have a lot of outrageous nominations or snubs like the Golden Globes usually do, and this often serves as a good indicator for what will get nominated at the Oscars and the Emmys, because a good chunk of the voters from both the Film Academy and the Television Academy are all voters for these awards too. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of the Screen Actors Guild Award nominations. What do you like? What do you not like? What do you think got snubbed? And please subscribe to my channel so you can get my new videos as soon as they're uploaded. And I will be back soon with more Oscar-related videos, as well as my thoughts on the Golden Globes and lots more. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.